Well, happy Tuesday, everybody. It's Mark and Glenn coming to you live from the campus of Wycliffe Associates in sunny Orlando. Although, Glenn, although it's sunny today, it is unseasonably cool, isn't it?
For Floridians, yes, it is.
Yes, this is the part where Glenn reminds me that he's from the Great North. So, Glenn, we have a lot going on in the show today, and I am super excited. I'm excited every time, but I'm especially excited this time. So, first thing we want to do is remind people that the QA channel will be open, and you feel free to put questions, and hopefully you'll get some answers out of there a little bit later on. We wanted to mention that this is our second show in the new studio.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The new studio at the moment is unnamed, although the working name is The Bungalow, which is pretty bad. So,
that hurts.
Glenn came up with that. We're workshopping it. But if you submit a great name for Studio Conference Room 3A here at the campus of Wycliffe Associates, and it's chosen at random from all the winners, we will send you a prize, I guess.
Well, I thought maybe we'd call them out.
Yeah, that's true. You get a shout out on the call on the show at least.
Speaking of shout outs.
Yeah, speaking of shout outs, actually, the main thing that we need to talk about is we got to talk about this table that Glenn and I are standing at.
So it's like every time we have the software showcase, we change a little thing. And most of the time, we let you know what it is. But this time, it's really obvious.
It's really big. It's so big that we've actually approved Craig to widen out the shot and show you the new table that we are standing at. While he's doing that, I just want to say that this was constructed custom to our specs.
Yes.
By two guys who are here this winter, and their names are Bruce DeModge and Conrad Vanderwerf. I'm not sure if they're watching. I'm going to guess they probably aren't. If you know these guys and you're watching, please tell them how much we appreciate the table. We've told them as well.
They are most talented in being able to pull this off, and from the wonderful blueprint you did. I think we should frame that napkin.
That's right. We literally sketched it out on a napkin. We gave it to Bruce Halverson.
Yes.
And 2 weeks later, we had this amazing table, which we are super excited to use. It's set up to have 3 or 4 guests. It's got a little bit of a curve so we can all see each other. And they painted it gloss black, which...
It's modular. It's like Orson Welles push through. The table breaks away if you need to.
And it's
push
modular.
The camera through.
Yeah, and it's modular. So anyway, we sincerely appreciate the work of WA's volunteers. Of course, most of our volunteers serve the task of Bible translation out on the field and are helping people have Bible translation. But there's an amazing core of people who come here in the wintertime and just do all kinds of things that are they're such a blessing to the organization and to the ministry.
It's one of my favorite times of the year.
Yeah,
really is.
It really is. So thanks, guys, for Bruce and Conrad for all your work on the table. It is well appreciated, and it looks great in here.
You know what else is new?
What else is new?
We have a new segment at the end of the presentation.
We do have a new segment. What do you want to say about it?
Oh, nothing. Just stick around. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I think we should at least tease that the name is called Bullet Time.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm thinking The Matrix.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So we're trying it out with our guest. And speaking of our guest today, Glenn, who are we going to have with us?
I believe it is the world-famous Rick Gray.
It is the world-famous Rick Gray. So what's exciting about this particular software showcase is it's been a while since we've had a remote live guest. When we've done remote guests, we've usually pre-rolled. But today, we're moving into the 21st century. We have Rick remotely on site with us.
Where is he calling from?
I don't know. Rick, why don't you tell us where you're calling from today?
I'm calling from Lee Summit, Missouri, outside of Kansas City.
Lee Summit, Missouri. Sounds good. So how's the weather there?
It was 25 when I got up this morning. It's up to about 30 or so, 35.
So
no snow.
So you live there because you choose to, or you have to be there? I'm trying to understand.
Just for Mark's reference, that's cold. Right? That's getting to cold.
Yeah, those are 25. Temperatures where you leave your drink outside and it becomes ice, as opposed to here. Anyway, all right, so enough about that. So we're super glad to have Rick with us today. Rick is, of course, an important part of our team. He leads the Tech Advance team. He also, as a sideline, runs the Global South Services for-profit entities that serve Bible translation in the places where we need a for-profit entity as opposed to an NGO or a nonprofit. So, Rick, welcome to the studio with us.
I'm glad to be there.
So, Rick, I thought we would talk a little bit about how you came into WA, just kind of share your story of ministry, and then we'll shift gears and talk about Tech Advance, which has been around for a pretty long time. But go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Right. I came to WA in 2009 and actually started work in the recruiting department, worked for about a year there, and then moved over to Global South Services. And Cindy and I lived overseas, and and worked at a business there in Azerbaijan for a few years, and then came back and continued to work for Global South Services until a couple of years ago, and had an opportunity to serve the Tech Advance department, and so have been working with Tech Advance and Global South Services. So I'm happy to be the director of Tech Advance now.
And we're happy to have you. Yeah, you started about a year before I did. I started in 2010, and I think pretty quickly Tech Advance was on the scene, because when I started in 2010, I was doing major donor fundraising, and I remember talking to many people about the ministry that Tech Advance was involved in. And at the time, we all remember it was BGANs. It was, we're going to put a solar panel, and we're going to have this internet communicator that talks to satellites, and this is going to allow Bible translators to upload their Bible translations and stuff. So are we still doing that stuff?
We're not doing that particular thing anymore, but I think some of the other partners maybe continue to do that.
Yeah, I think we were involved in kind of prototyping that, and we put many of those out in the field, but we've kind of moved on to other stuff. So Rick, how would you describe the ministry of Tech Advance today? What is sort of the main focuses?
Yeah, some of the same things that they have done all along, which is provide equipment, for the different mass events and the different training events that are around the world. And not only that, provide the equipment, but most of the guys in Tech Advance have traveled to be support at the events. That's changed, of course, now, but they're doing some virtual training now. But the equipment is the main thing, one of the main things, and then also the technical training services continue, and POD.
Yeah, so print on demand. So we'll put a link to the POD software showcase that we did with Dennis back in December, right? December?
Yep.
Which is great, loaded with information about print on demand. I think we are going to talk a little bit about a new POD thing, the power cabinets. We've got a slide for that a little bit later, so we'll push that out, but we are going to circle back to that. And then the other thing that we were discussing earlier, Rick, is the work in the scripture access area. Do you want to speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, some of the guys are actually helping, and they're crossing over and working with other departments, and actually are involved in getting the files and the information that's uploaded through the publishing process. And I think from a technical aspect, there's a lot of things that may be not lined up exactly right, and so they help push it on through and get it ready to be used. And so I think they work with Christine and maybe Marv and some others in that area.
Yeah, we know from our own experience here as well how much support it takes for a translator to move from translating scripture to turning that into something that's finished, checked, consumable. And I think we've got a software showcase coming up in a couple of weeks with Marv Lucas, which we're going to talk to him. And then we've got one queued up with Craig, who has worked extensively on the publishing pipeline. We're going to do a deep dive on that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
bring our focus back to Tech Advance. I mean, I haven't been here altogether that long, but Tech Advance has always impressed me as being a department that is so adaptable to whatever we need. I mean, they get stuck with the last mile program, right? Of like, how do we solve this? And they keep coming up all the time. They've got an extremely talented team. Should we meet some of them?
Yeah, let's do that. So we've got some pictures of the guys on your team. There's one right there. So we'll let you introduce these guys.
Yeah, the first one will be Bert Robach, and he works in the POD shop, works with Dennis and the guys, and he's getting some ink ready to send out. Currently, the guys over there are working on a mega unit for East Swatini, so that we hope to be able to ship that whole unit out very, very quickly.
I'll just make a comment about Bert. I've got to know him a little bit as I kind of come and go out of the POD area. The guy is always cheerful. That's all I'm going to say. He's just a really cheerful guy, and I appreciate that about him, and he seems to take a lot of joy in the work that he's doing with POD. Okay, next.
Yeah, the next picture there will be Chuck Leach and Mark Thrash, and they're in Indonesia. And the guys there, this was actually a training event that focused a lot of the training was on for the technical guys. Sometimes they'll identify somebody at an event that has a little bit more technical ability, and they'll want that to be their lead to help the team to get things uploaded and if they have technical issues. And so they spend a little extra time with the technical team there in Indonesia.
Yeah, I was going to comment that one of the changes, I think, with the pandemic and now almost a year that we've really been unable to travel, is that we've shifted gears from the guys doing direct technical support all the time to really focusing on training people to do tech support remotely, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I just want to mention too that, and you would understand, a lot of times it's difficult for them to actually connect in a virtual way if they haven't known them or seen them personally.
Right.
And so now that we have in the years past, they have met these guys personally, it's really easy for those guys now to contact them through WhatsApp, through the help desk, in a variety of different ways when they get in trouble and need help.
Yeah.
And on the picture, I think we've got Mark Thrash being the tallest man in the room and Chuck Leach with the mighty, mighty beard.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, who's next?
Hey.
The next one will be, Dennis Stewart, and he happens to be in Madagascar there, and he was delivering and setting up the unit there, and they are printing scripture. So those guys are busy. They've had a few issues, and they've been able to contact Dennis to help them out, but that was the original setup that he went for.
Great. Yeah, Dennis was a joy to interview to talk about POD. And again, we'll put a link up for that. If you haven't seen that one yet, you can learn more about POD than you ever thought you would want to know.
And I think he was the person who actually designed the power cabinet we'll see later on.
That's right.
Brains behind it. And
He
it's
was
impressive.
Yes, very impressive. Okay.
Yeah, I'll mention a little bit more about POD as well.
Oh, yeah.
POD, it seems like it would be simple to be able to get a unit just loaded up, wrapped up, and shipped out. And I just want to mention there's a ton of paperwork that goes with it. And so for anybody that's been involved in MSDS and all the paperwork that has to be collected to go with it, it's a ton of paperwork in order to get it through customs into the different areas.
And they're not standardized necessarily, right? I mean, we saw that they custom organize the pieces, and then they have to figure out the Tetris that is the suitcase to fit all that stuff. So.
Yeah, I was excited to see when I was in there the other day that we've taken delivery now on a number of units from Epson of the mega POD size. We had a little issue, and those finally came through, and we received those, which was really exciting. So I know they've got a queue of things getting ready to go out.
The next picture would be Gary Gardner, and he's helping with all the paperwork we're talking about. So he's working on programming a management system that would help be able to generate some of that paperwork automatically. So he's working with Dennis and Robert Kramer on that.
Very good. Yeah, we've met Gary a couple times. Great guy.
Bless you for handling the paperwork.
Oh yeah. Yep.
The next picture would be John Wood, and he mans the help desk and also travels and does the tech training and supports event through the technical side. He happens to be at an event there in Africa.
John has also been featured on the software showcase way back in the early days. We had him come in and talk about either Autographa or Writer. I can't remember.
That was the day actually we're showing off both.
Yeah.
So we had Craig talking about one and John the other.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just mention that this is John mans the help desk. It's help desk at techadvancement.com. So,
right. And that's the help desk, not for like WA internal stuff. That's the help desk that we give to people who are doing Bible translation on the field or that are using the Bible translation tools to help others, things like that.
Yeah, that's correct. The next person there would be Larry Versal. And Larry has actually been on some events to support them in Mexico and different places around the world. I think this picture happens to be in the Philippines, but Larry is actually really busy and works on the publishing side in getting that ready. And he can be buried sometimes with the work that he has to do. So,
yeah, Larry is a very competent programmer and script writer and works magic on many repos that are not ready for publication and brings them to a place where they are ready for publication.
Yeah, the next picture would be a familiar face to many, Mark Hancock. And I think he's actually got two loads of DOT kits ready for somebody to bring to Orlando. So Mark actually helps with the logistics of getting import, looking at the asset request, and then trying to make sure that all of that equipment gets to where it needs to be in a timely fashion. So along with many other things as well. And I'll just mention here that he handles techadvancement.com as well.
He does. Yeah, Mark, of course, was in Orlando for a long time, but he and his family relocated to Massachusetts, I believe.
New York.
New York. Excuse me. I think he's
York.
from like Massachusetts or Maine.
Yeah, I think they live in the Catskills kind of area.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, I would encourage the folks that have not been to techadvancement.com to just go there and look around and see what's available. And then the next picture would be, let's see here, I'm scrolling up myself. I think it's Paul Newell.
It's Paul. Yep.
Yeah. And Paul's done some trips with John and some of the other guys as far as tech support. He's also working with Larry now on the publishing side and learning what Larry does, the magic Mark was talking about. So he's enjoying that and helping support Larry and the publishing team.
Yep. Yeah, and it's a growing need because more and more groups are, winding down the translation portion of their projects. And so there's a growing need for more of this processing and helping the things get through and be available for reading on the web and putting into apps and downloading and things like that.
And the next picture would be Tim Maggio there in the corner, and he works with a DOT team. I think this is a team recently in Togo, and they also have identified some people that would be on the more technical side. So this was an event where they actually went a little bit deeper into some of the technical problems and solutions there. Tim does speak some sign language, and he helps us in Tech Advance know what needs to be in the DOT kits as they're sent out. So there's a lot going on in the DOT area.
Just a note on DOT and the challenges of Bible translation for the deaf. I always make like a pyramid of there's the most number of people who want written scripture, but it's also the simplest thing to do. You're translating text. Mm-hmm. Then the next thing up is you've got folks who want to have audio scripture. That's more complicated because the files are larger and you got to record them and all that stuff. But then at the top, you have the smallest number of people who are hearing impaired. And it's the most complicated projects by far because you have large files. You're taking video of people doing sign language. You've got to edit those into a cohesive whole. And so the DOT program is, I would say, by far the most challenging at a technical level. Mm-hmm. And yet they are doing a great job. They're just knocking it out of the park. And we hope to soon have some pretty exciting announcements about some ways that we found to help distribute those translations. We had a great conversation with Michael Ropp recently, director of DOT. Had several people on that call from Tech Advance and whatnot. And we've got a couple of ideas, I think, that are going to help make that scripture actually accessible to people who are an often overlooked minority group, even in the world of Bible translation, because the projects are so challenging.
Yeah, I wanted to mention a couple other folks that I didn't have a picture of. Jim Giddens, who many of you are familiar with. He's recovering there from some surgery, but he is the one there in Orlando that has gotten a lot of equipment ready for folks in a hurry when they needed it. They were going to carry it. So mention Jim. The Robert Kramer is another person that works with Dennis and Gary Gardner. And he is, I think, currently working for Boeing, but hoping that he can put more hours in as he retires with POD. And then Susan Moore is a newer person to the team. She helps Dennis with things that we get requests to print things overseas, or we're going to print as samples in the shop. So she'll put together some the Gospels, OBS books, and so she's layout and design for that.
Nice. Very cool. So I think you've got some equipment pictures maybe to show. There we go. Yep. So what are we looking at?
This is probably the inside of the cabinet that some of the folks have been able to see in the shop. And power is always an issue for POD. And even though we try our best to make sure that the site, the partner, the church has got the power situation under control, because it's unstable in a lot of countries around the world, it can harm the equipment. So Dennis and the team have actually put together a cabinet that would give them clean power, and all of the equipment could be plugged into. It also has the ability, has some batteries in there, and so they could actually, if the power went completely out, they can run some several hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours, run the equipment on that power. Yeah. So we're going to send one of those cabinets with each mega POD system that goes out, just as insurance that they can run as long as they can.
Yeah, Dennis was telling me that we've lost a tremendous amount of equipment to power problems. And you got dirty power problems and things like that. But one of the things he told me about that I didn't know was when the power goes out in the middle of a print run, the printer is designed to have power. And when it's finished printing, it needs to park the head in a safe place. And if you don't do that and you don't have power for another day or two, you can actually have the head dry out and end up with a dried out print head, and now you've got basically a printer that's done. It's pretty much toast. And so the cabinet, and I think we might have an exterior shot of it as well. We don't. Okay, I'm getting the no from our producer. Has fully isolated power in the sense of what you plug it into the wall, and that's how it charges up. So it's not solar or whatever, but you plug it in the wall. So when you have power, it charges up the batteries. And then the circuit that you have the equipment plugged into is fully isolated from the mains power, so that if something goes on with the main power, whether it's bad power or that goes out or whatever, it isolates all of our equipment from all of that mess and keeps it safe, and also then keeps it running. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
And we do have shots of it in the POD showcase. So
we do.
If you're curious and want to know more,
we do. The other thing that you might have noticed there's two of every component.
Yes.
So the whole thing is built in a redundant fashion so that if you lose one thing, so you've got two inverters and you've got two charge controllers and everything. The whole thing is, redundant. It's a 2-in-1 kind of a thing. Yeah. I was really impressed. I know a little bit about electricity, not as much as these guys. And they talked me kind of through the design, and they did a really nice job on it.
Yeah, it just so happens another partner came in and happened to see that and was asking when we would be able to produce some for them. So there's already other people kind of looking around and saying, yeah, we need something like that. We've experienced that as well.
Yeah, I bet. What they don't understand is that it's a labor of love. So Bert and he's got another guy out there who's helping him.
Michael?
Yeah, so the two of them are out there they're building these things by hand. Which, by the way, is how they build Porsches. So maybe it's like that. Yeah. There's
definitely
still
high quality,
highly skilled labor going into these. It's not an assembly line quite yet.
And the last shot there is it's just a small solar panel that we actually provide with a tablet in PNG as they send them out to different places. They don't have the ability to charge them up, and these actually work for the solar panels. So it's kind of we're getting some experience with the solar charging systems and in the environment of PNG. And so we're going to go a little bit further in that and do some more research, and then have some hopefully available for people to look at there in Orlando eventually.
Nice. So Rick, are there other ways that Tech Advances had to make adaptations this year with the pandemic and the lack of travel? And then what is the perspective on travel? Do you think the guys will be hitting the road soon at all, or where are we at?
Yeah, right now, see, I was trying to count in my head. There's Chuck is working with folks in the Philippines. He's working with folks in Indonesia. And then John is working with folks in Africa. And there's a couple of new possibilities. John had a meeting this week with folks in Asia. So the guys are actually doing virtual training. It slows things down a little bit. They're doing maybe 1 or 2 hours a week with each individual person or team. But the positive that has come out of it, there's many national people that had the ability and had the knowledge. They just didn't have the confidence to step up.
Right.
And because of the travel restrictions, they actually have stepped up a great deal and taken that responsibility. And they actually feel comfortable in doing that because they can lean on Chuck, John, Mark Thrash, and others when they come across something they don't know what to do. So it's been a positive thing in many ways. And of course, we're going to continue to try to serve virtually as much as we can.
Yeah, that's such a great point. The reduction of dependence on foreign missions and expat missions is, I think, going to be really, in time, going to be the thing that we reflect on as the positive out of the pandemic.
It's what we knew we needed. We just didn't know how to get there, and suddenly provided.
There it was, Catalyst provided. So
we do hope to travel some more, but we're just taking a day at a time.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
So let's check with our producer. Do we have any Q and A? Well, we wouldn't have A. Do we have any Qs? Do we have any questions?
No A's, but we do have one Q. It's not specifically for Tech Advance, but we have a person saying, hello, from Democratic Republic of Congo. He'd like to know how to get a hold of Orature.
Oh, Okay, well, this is actually a question for Glenn. So in case you couldn't hear that, Rick, the question was, how do I get a hold of Orature? I'm going to let you answer.
I actually received an email this morning also from somebody else asking a very similar question. And what they did to get a hold of me is they went to the Orature page on Bible translation tools. There's an Orature tab. You go to there. And if you click the download or learn more, it'll provide you the opportunity to send an email to our team, me specifically, to find out more. Now, if you're interested in knowing more about it, there actually is a showcase covering Orature as a product, so you can learn some information there. But of course, it's a product in development, so new stuff has happened even since then, and we'd be happy to talk to you about the product and about your needs.
Yeah, let's just take a second to talk about why don't we just make it available for people to download, Glenn? Why don't we just let anybody use it who wants to have it?
Well, right now, because it is in development, we have several different partners that are helping us test our new features and work out the bugs. And the good news is, like, when we know that there's a crash, we know exactly who to call and find out, hey, how did that happen? So one of the ramifications with beta testers is we want to have that relationship established first so that we can be in communication. And I do want to know, because different partners, use software differently and run into special circumstances that we want to hear about. So it's an important part of being able to mature the software the right way.
Yeah, I think, our heart is to provide the very, very best technical support, especially because it is a product that's still under major development. Every month there's brand new stuff coming out. So that's why we don't want it for everybody. So like Glenn said, and I see that Craig has brought the website up there. It's orature.bibletranslationtools.org, or just go to bibletranslationtools.org and you'll find it. You can navigate to it from there. Fill out that form and we'll be back in touch soon.
Yeah, great question, by the way. Thank you.
Very good question. Anything else? Nope, we're getting the high sign. All right, so you've made it this far with us. It's time for us to unveil our new segment called
Bullet Time.
Bullet Time. We're not going to do this anymore. This was a one-shot. Okay. So Bullet Time is just, we want to have just a few rapid-fire questions here for our guests. I think this will be fun to do. So,
and he hasn't known this is coming, by the way.
Yeah, we let him know something was coming, but we didn't give him the details. So here you go, Rick. These are easy answers. Soup or salad?
Salad.
Salad. Okay. I'm a soup guy. Someday we're going to do it for you.
Making a note of
All right,
that.
salad. Good to know. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Nice.
Sigh.
Nice. Would you rather have a working moped or a fully restored Tonka bulldozer?
A Tonka bulldozer.
Oh,
Surprise.
Surprise. Nice.
Okay.
All right. And finally, what's a book that you would recommend for everybody to read, Rick?
Yeah, it's called The Divine Mentor, Wayne Cordero.
Okay.
It just basically talks about your devotional life.
Nice.
And how to get the most out of it. So it's a good book.
All right.
Good.
Thanks for the recommendation. Well, Rick, it's been a real pleasure having you here today. And I just want to say what a pleasure it is having you on our team. If you're familiar with the history of Tech Advance was intentionally not a part of IT for a long time. And the reason was because it needed to actually be independent and not get sucked into supporting the technical needs of WA, but to be fully focused on the needs of the global church. And so for a long time, it was a completely separate team. And I think 2 years ago, maybe, it came into IT. And I felt like that was the right time because we, as an IT team, had matured to the point where we had the bandwidth to begin to have the sort of split focus internally and
I think
externally.
that transition happened with the installment of Rick Ray, as I recall.
Well, I think Rick went to work for Tim as the COO, and Tim had Tech Advance briefly, and then anyway. But really glad to have Tech Advancement in our group. Really enjoy working alongside those guys and the work that they do, and really enjoy having Rick on our team as well. So thanks again for being here with us, Rick.
It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it.
So next time, as we mentioned, we're going to have Marv Lucas, Director of Scripture Accessibility. Very lot of overlap here with the work that Rick is doing. Marv is also on our team, and we're really glad to have him. He joined our team last year.
Helps us keep us focused on delivery of the end product.
You know, guys, it's not just about translating Scripture. It's actually about people being able to consume it for themselves and share it with others. So that'll be fun to have Marv in to talk about the things that he is working on. And then I believe after that is Craig on a deep dive on all of the processing that goes on in the publishing pipeline.
Be a lot to learn.
Anything else? Fun. Anything else before we go?
I think that's it. Just remember, we want to thank you very much for the likes and subscribe. That's helped us out a lot.
Yes.
But as you continue to share these, remind others. Join the team.
Very much so. All right. Hope you have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time.